I never thought I'd be the woman who caught her husband cheating. But here I am, standing in the driveway, staring at a truck I don't recognize, and feeling my heart plummet into my stomach, a cold dread washing over me like ice water. The moment I saw that truck, a gut-wrenching instinct kicked in. A dark cloud loomed over me, but I dismissed it, clinging to the illusion that love was enough, that Lucian was mine and mine alone. As I approached the side of the house, my mind raced with memories of our nearly 20 years together. The laughter that echoed through the halls, the inside jokes that felt like a secret language, the quiet moments of intimacy that had once made me believe we were unbreakable, invincible. But as I crept closer to our bedroom window, my heart hammered in my chest. A primal fear clawed at me, screaming to turn back, to pretend none of this was happening, that I could still preserve our picture-perfect life. When I finally peered through the slats of the window, reality shattered into a million jagged pieces. There they were, Lucian and another woman, completely naked on our bed. My bed, the sacred space we had built together. I stumbled back, my heart racing, a wave of nausea crashing over me as I fought the urge to scream, to shatter the glass, to confront him right there, to demand answers for the betrayal that cut deeper than any knife. Instead, I turned and walked away, feeling hollow and lost, wondering how everything I thought I knew about love could crumble in an instant, leaving behind nothing but the ruins of my trust. I drove to my family's cabin, the place where I once felt safe. But even there, I was haunted by the images of betrayal. The walls felt like they were closing in, suffocating me with the weight of my sorrow. I poured a drink, then another, the rum burning my throat but dulling the pain, blurring the edges of my reality, even if just for a moment, as I tried to escape this nightmare. I knew I was spiraling, but the thought of facing him, of confronting the man I had shared my life with, felt impossible. It was like standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to leap into an abyss of uncertainty. Sitting on the porch, staring at the trees swaying in the wind, I felt utterly alone, the weight of betrayal heavy on my chest, an anchor dragging me deeper into despair. Every sip reminded me of the laughter we once shared, and now I felt like I was drowning in a sea of confusion, anger, and an aching void that couldn't be filled. I reached for my phone, contemplating texting him, but all I could think about was the rage boiling inside me, a tempest threatening to consume everything I had ever loved. The next day, I woke up with a pounding headache and a mind cluttered with thoughts. I needed to confront Lucian, but I wasn't ready yet. I was still picking up the pieces of my shattered heart. Instead, I decided to reach out to strangers online, seeking solace from people who might understand the depths of my pain. Their words, a lifeline in a stormy sea. The support I received was overwhelming, a reminder that there were still good people in the world, but it also made me feel exposed and vulnerable, like I was standing naked in front of a crowd. As I sorted through the messages, I realized how many signs I had overlooked. Late-night texts, unexplained absences, that nagging feeling that something was off, whispering warnings I had silenced in my heart. I couldn't shake the image of the woman from my mind. Who was she? What did she have that I didn't? It felt like a cruel twist of fate, a punch to my gut, leaving me gasping for air. In a moment of desperation, I texted my brother, asking him to come and be with me, needing someone to ground me in this storm of chaos, someone who could help me regain my footing. We took a long drive to a B&B on a vineyard, and for a brief moment, I felt like I could breathe again, away from the shadows of betrayal that clung to me like a second skin. But even on that picturesque drive, my mind replayed the scene from my window, the cruel reminder of what I had lost, and I felt the tears threatening to spill over, a storm brewing inside me. The weekend was a distraction. I fished with my brother, caught nothing, but the act of casting the line felt cathartic, a way to release my pent-up frustration, to let the pain flow out with each throw. We shared a massive steak for dinner that night, but every bite felt like a reminder of my broken heart. I was eating to fill a void that nothing could touch, and I felt sickened by my own helplessness. On the drive back, I thought about how my life would change. I knew I couldn't go back to the way things were, not after what I had seen. The truth had carved a canyon between us. When we arrived at my brother's house, his wife was waiting, and I could sense the tension in the air thick like fog as I braced myself for what I knew was coming. Over a glass of wine, she calmly told me that she had spied on Lucian, and my heart sank as she recounted the details I never wanted to hear, each word cutting deeper than the last. She described the woman leaving my house, the way they hugged, the way they kissed, and I felt my world tilt on its axis, my heart breaking all over again, piece by piece. I couldn't look at her. I felt small and insignificant, like I had lost the one person who was supposed to be my rock, the one who was supposed to have my back. As I processed this new information, the full weight of Lucian's betrayal crashed over me. He had been living a double life while I prepared for our future together, my heart aching with the bitter reality. I felt a surge of anger, the kind that makes you want to scream, to throw things, to make him feel the same pain he had inflicted on me. But I was trapped in a whirlwind of emotions. My brother suggested talking to a counselor, and while I doubted it would change my mind about Lucian, I knew I needed help untangling this mess inside my heart. I felt like I was on the edge of a cliff, staring into the abyss, and I wasn't sure if I was going to jump or find a way back to solid ground. Returning home felt like walking into a war zone. I was filled with dread, knowing I had to face the man who had shattered my trust, who had obliterated my sense of security. I began to think about the other woman. Who was she? Did she know he was married? Was she just as guilty, or was she another victim caught in his web of lies? I decided I needed answers, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get them, even if it meant confronting the woman who had stolen my husband. I found myself plotting, a dark resolve forming in my heart. I would expose her, make her feel the pain I felt, and maybe then I could reclaim my own dignity, my sense of self-worth. But deep down, I knew that revenge wouldn't heal my broken heart. It would only deepen the wounds. Yet the anger felt so intoxicating, a dangerous siren song luring me in. I reached out to a lawyer, my hands trembling as I typed the words. I had never thought it would come to this, but I needed to be prepared for anything, every possibility swirling in my mind. The advice I received from the online community echoed in my mind. I had to protect myself, to take control of my life again, even if it meant letting him go, severing the ties that bound me. As I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I felt the weight of my decision settling in. This wasn't just about Lucian anymore. It was about me reclaiming my life, my dignity, my future. I knew there was no easy way out of this emotional labyrinth, but I was determined to find the light at the end, even if it meant walking through the darkness first, step by agonizing step. I thought about how I would confront him, what words I would use, and whether I could keep my composure when the truth came crashing down like a tidal wave. The next day I found myself at a coffee shop, the familiar taste of bitterness reminding me of the bitter reality I was living in, my heart heavy with unresolved feelings. I watched couples laughing and holding hands, and I felt a pang of jealousy mixed with sadness, wishing I could be one of them again, wishing I could erase the pain. But that was the past, and I knew I had to forge a new path, even if it meant walking through the ashes of my previous life, the remnants of my former self scattered around me. I texted Lucian, asking him to meet. My heart raced with anticipation and dread, knowing this was the moment everything would change, the precipice of a new reality. When I saw him walk in, I felt a rush of emotions: love, anger, betrayal, and a deep sense of loss, all swirling inside me, battling for dominance in my heart. He smiled, but it felt like a mask, a facade hiding the truth, and I couldn't help but wonder what secrets lay behind those familiar eyes, what lies had been woven in their depths. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the confrontation. There was no turning back now, and I needed him to know I was no longer the woman he could manipulate, the one who would overlook his transgressions. As I sat across from him, my heart pounding, I felt a surge of courage. I was ready to fight for my dignity, to take control of my life, no matter how painful the outcome might be. When I finally spoke, my voice was steady, but inside I felt like I was crumbling. I told him everything I had learned, how I had seen him with her, and how it shattered me, piece by piece. He looked shocked, and for a moment I wondered if he would apologize, if he would beg for forgiveness. But in that moment of vulnerability, I realized I didn't want his remorse. I wanted the truth. What I needed was answers, the truth behind his betrayal, and as I watched his expression shift from surprise to guilt, I felt a flicker of hope that I might reclaim my power, my sense of self. But as he began to speak, I could see the excuses forming on his lips, the justifications for his actions, and my heart sank further. A stone dropped into a deep well of despair. I knew then that no matter what he said, it would not change the fact that he had betrayed our love, and I would never be able to see him the same way again. The innocence of our past tarnished forever. Our conversation spiraled into accusations and defenses, each word a dagger, tearing at the remnants of our relationship, laying bare the raw wounds of infidelity. In that moment of raw honesty, I realized that no matter how much I loved him, we were no longer the same people we had been, and there was no going back, no repairing the irreparable. As I walked away from that coffee shop, I felt a mix of relief and sadness, the weight of betrayal still heavy on my heart, but I was determined to move forward, one step at a time, even if it hurt. I knew the road ahead would be filled with pain, but it was also an opportunity for growth, for healing, and for rediscovery of my own strength, my own identity. In the days that followed, I began to focus on myself, seeking therapy and support, learning to unravel the tangled emotions that had held me captive for so long, like a bird in a cage. The anger still simmered beneath the surface, but I started to channel it into self-care, working out, journaling, and reconnecting with the parts of me that I had lost in the shadows of betrayal, the parts that still yearned for life. I even began to explore new hobbies, finding solace in painting, the colors on the canvas reflecting the turmoil within me, a cathartic release of pent-up feelings. As I navigated this journey, I realized that healing takes time, but every step I took was a step toward reclaiming my identity, my worth, and my future, brick by brick. I had learned that love could be both beautiful and devastating, and while I still felt the sting of betrayal, I also felt a flicker of hope for what lay ahead, a new dawn breaking on the horizon. In the end, I knew I would be okay. I would rise from the ashes of this heartbreak stronger and more resilient than ever, ready to embrace whatever the future might hold, no longer defined by my pain. Thank you for watching. For more real stories and powerful dramas, be sure to like, subscribe, and explore our I Will View 2 channel.